Well, good evening, everybody. It is good to be with you again on Thursday Night Live. We have had a number of episodes, and it's so good. It's so good to have you. I have so enjoyed having the different guests and just being able to have a conversation that is hopefully something that can bring you some insight, to hear maybe some things that others are doing and just sort of going through life. And I just want to remind you that there are previous episodes available on my YouTube channel if you want episodes from the past, or you can hit the Saanich Baptist Facebook feed. They're in there as well, also on their YouTube channel. Well, tonight I'm excited to have with us Juliane Riemer. Julie, there she is. Welcome, Julie. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Julie, you have been around the Victoria area for how long? Let's give us a little picture of who you are and how long you've been in Ireland.
Yeah, we came to the island in 2009 in July. Came out here so that I could finish my training and have been here since. We came out for what was going to have been a 2-year program, and we weren't intending on staying, but kind of fell in love with the place, and it's a hard place to leave. So here we are.
Yes, it's a hard place to get to.
Yeah.
And stay, but man, once you're here, totally. Now,
yeah.
You mentioned we a couple of times.
Yeah.
Who's we?
So my husband Lee and I, and then we have 3 kids. We've got an almost 11-year-old, an almost 9-year-old, and then a 5 and a bit-year-old. So yeah, it's a bustling household, but filled with good things. So.
Oh my goodness! I remember having dinner at your place way back when you're almost 11. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, and we were just having this conversation about family. And look at you guys.
I think that was the conversation of, what do you do with these things, Lindsay and Carla? How did you do it?
Yeah. Well, that was part of it.
Manual. Yeah.
Yeah. No instruction manual. Not really. And you guys are awesome. It's really cool to watch you as a family. So you're a mom. You're a wife. You've got a career.
Yeah.
You volunteer on a regular basis with our worship and arts ministry. That Oasis evening the other night that and your daughter was on there as well, and Lee was drumming, and you led us through it. That was just fantastic. Okay. Yeah, that must have been sweet.
That was really special. It's been special that the kids are now old enough that they can handle themselves, to entertain themselves for a little bit while Lee and I can play on the same team so that he can play drums and me on viola. It was so special to have Karis there too the other night. So yeah, pretty awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, you've got a number of these things going on, and you guys decided to add something very recently to your world that I think is supposed to be bringing maybe a little bit of comfort and all of that.
Yeah.
What did you do?
We got a kitten on Friday night, and we brought this home, and we had not told our kids that this kitten was coming. So this was a plan in the works, and we got to surprise our kids with a little furry, fluffy friend on Friday. So
wow.
And I have never raised a cat from kittenhood before, and apparently they take about 2 or 3 weeks to settle in. So mommy had these visions of we're going to be playing with this thing and just cuddling, and just it's going to be awesome. And she was completely petrified of all of us for probably about 4.5 days hiding underneath the sink. So she's now at the place where she'll tolerate us petting her and stroking her, and so that's good. We're moving in the right direction. But
nice.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So if anyone's considering getting a kitten, know there's an adjustment period.
So that idea of this, cute, cuddly, soft, furry animal sitting on your lap hasn't quite happened yet?
It's an investment towards that.
Okay. All right.
That's the eventual goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So lots going on.
Yeah.
In a regular season. Last year, we're getting close to a year.
Yeah.
Our first world Western Victorian pretty nice life
Yeah.
got kind of flipped on its head. How has COVID been? What has it done to you as a family, maybe in your career as well? Like, what's kind of been going on? How have you been going through that?
Yeah, it's been, I was just reflecting today, knowing that this was coming up tonight, just how, if all of us could have spoken to our pre-COVID selves, like, it kind of wouldn't have been on our radar that we would have had a world experience like this coming up for as long as we have. And especially in a place like Victoria, we're like blessed with beautiful weather, and like it's quite comfortable of a place to live. And it was a really interesting experience, those early days of COVID, of being like, is this the end times? Like, what's going on? Like, is it safe to get groceries? Like, is it safe for me to bike to work and breathe the outside air? You know, there's like so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
And then we, like a lot of families, you know, had to navigate the, like, kids aren't allowed in school. How long is this going to be for? And now we're doing it to the end of the year. And now we've been together come July for, like, you know, many months of just us and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was definitely the homeschooling thing to navigate. And yeah, and we don't have any immediate family around us in town. So really just being on all the time, kind of 24/7 with your kids and your family, not a ton of personal time. Yeah. And professionally, like, just as everybody and their dog has had to have COVID updates ad nauseum in their areas of work. And it's been no different for us, of course. And yeah, like just the inundation of emails of now this update and now this update and now we're doing this different and this different. And yeah, it's been a lot to navigate. That's for sure.
It really has. Yeah, it really has. And it's hard. It's hard to almost remember back to what it was pre-COVID. I mean, that sounds goofy, but
yeah,
I mean, and there's been so many little iterations, like you said, emails, the daily updates. What does it mean? How do we process? What is a safe six? What is our bubble? What is, you know, all of these things, have been real challenging.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things, like you and Lee are pretty, I'd say pretty proactive people. You're thoughtful people.
Yeah.
Yeah. With your family, what are some things maybe that you've learned as you've gone through this season a little bit to help all of you sort of, I mean, I know that there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be some bumps. There's going to be some, well, as you said, there's not much personal time. There's probably going to be some tears, right? There's all kinds of things going on. But what have you found to sort of help bring some equilibrium? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think that, like, if we think about it from the perspective of the timeline, so initially when, you know, the kids were off in March, we had to, you know, I think we both realized pretty early on we need to have some real structure to our day. So trying to chunk the day so that this is breakfast. And for our family, we've really loved the rhythm of just like getting outside right after breakfast and going on a hike, or we got a canoe that we, you know, a used canoe that we would take out venturing and that kind of thing as well. And yeah, having the like outside time right in the middle of the morning. And that was kind of the thing. And then coming home, doing schoolwork, and then the lunch sort of downtime in the afternoon, and kind of chunking the day like that. And in the height of the first sort of wave, when we were trying to really bend the curve and all that stuff, our kids really responded well with, like, even knowing what we were having for meals, just knowing what to anticipate for that day. And that was really helpful for us too. And I think we all realized, yeah, that was kind of scheduling things helped you feel a little bit more in control about what was going on. We loved outdoor time has been so huge for our family. We've just tried to get out, kind of rain or shine, just trying to dress for the weather. Somebody very wisely told us when we moved to Vancouver Island, go anyways. You'll see all kinds of weather and just go anyways. If you're going to go for a hike, go anyways. And most of the time we can muster our strength to do that. But yeah, there's definitely some days that's like, okay, we're just not doing this. But yeah, that's been helpful too.
Julie, it's interesting. I think on our Thursday Night Lives, you might be the first one who has the young children aspect.
Yeah.
And yet I would suggest that a number of the people who I have talked to, they have referenced the need to get outdoors.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just a Victoria-centric thing. I think there's something about us that when we get outdoors, hey?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I think that there's just like a lot of just healing and being able to slow down and notice a cool piece of lichen that's on this branch, or this, toadstool that's growing, or see that bird or whatever. Yeah. It's pretty special to be able to do that.
Yeah. And so get out there, no matter the weather, get out there.
Yeah.
How about snow, Julie? Did we get out there in snow?
We got out there in the snow, and I'm sorry to everybody, but my son had been praying for that for like a month and a half beforehand. So
of course he was.
Yeah,
of course he was. Yeah.
Our poor Victoria snow-deprived children were out there. Yeah, right first thing in the morning. So
we didn't talk about this before, but you brought something up I'd like to dig in a little bit on. You mentioned that it seemed to be helpful for your kids to know some of the things that were coming up. I think you mentioned meals. Yeah. And so it sounded like so much was maybe going out of control, but there were some things that you could control, and that was helpful. Could you maybe speak about that?
Yeah, I think we kind of tried to put our brains together as a family, having a huddle sort of partway through, and we try and have them every so often about, what are some meals that we want to have, or some like special activities that we want to do. Our kids are really into, as a lot of kids, slime and, craft making and all that kind of stuff. So
hold on. Did you say slime?
Slime. Yeah.
Real slime, like outdoors?
Like slime that you can just be manipulating and get sticky everywhere. And we'll gift you with some, Lindsay. We can make some for you.
I remember as a kid having a little green garbage can with a hunk of slime in it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
But now you can make your own. So
okay.
Yeah. So just trying to come up with fun ideas, that they wanted to do, and so then they could anticipate, okay, this is happening. And we usually do like a pizza movie night every week, so they know that Fridays are pizza movie night. They know that that's coming, and we had a rhythm about church on Sundays and when that was going to happen and that kind of thing too. So yeah, just having, I guess, chunking the day and then chunking the week gave them a real strong sense of what was coming, and even when it felt like it was completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I was talking to a gentleman with 3 kids as well, actually. And he was just talking about his eldest, who's, for the last 6 months, everything that this child is excited about, I don't know, it might be similar age to your oldest, maybe a year younger.
Okay.
And the things that, was excited about was coming, and they just keep getting canceled and put off. And so I can hear what you're saying, the value in bringing them into some of the conversation, I guess.
Totally.
With some, yeah. Well done.
Yeah. So anyways, it's been good to be able to implement some of that stuff. Yeah. But there's been a lot of transition for kids everywhere. And I think that it didn't necessarily start hitting home for our kids until they were missing social events. Like we usually do a family reunion in May. Right. That's usually when Finley has his birthday with all of his cousins. And that was the first that our kids really grieved COVID and the restrictions that were there. Because I think we've been able to do okay, we'll have a COVID friendly birthday and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely been some loss from the kids' side too.
And so, well, that's just awesome. We'll get into some of that other stuff in a little bit. So, any other practical things, I suppose, that you and Lee sort of started bringing into your, maybe it's your daily rhythms or weekly or monthly, I don't know what it was, things for not only you as a family, but maybe you as an individual, things that helped you kind of cope and
Yeah, I think a couple other sort of practical things that we had to institute was just really knowing how important it was to just be physically moving some manner every day, preferably outside if we could. So trying to spell each other off so we could do that. And once, we were all done the stress eating, trying to implement some sort of nutritional value back into what we were doing day to day, because you feel like you're better able to manage the stress that's coming your direction when you've got proper energy in you. So that was really helpful. And speaking of kind of garbage in, garbage out, like I really had to scale back on my social media time in a few parts of this last season. In how much I was taking in of that, because there can be some really not great things that you have to navigate on there. And I rarely came away from that feeling like invigorated and like that was very life-giving. And so limiting that time so that I'm not needing to get into all the conspiracy theories and all the stuff, political stuff that's going on there, just kind of limiting that. So that was helpful too.
Yeah. Social media. It's one way to get connected, and sometimes you get beat up a little bit or disillusioned, and interesting. You've referenced faith a little bit. Talked about a Sunday routine as a family and things like that. What sort of gives you hope in the day in and day out? How does your faith sort of intersect with life for you? Whether it's as Julie, because you are still Julie, but Julie's also a mom, and Julie's also a wife, and Julie has a career, and Julie has a viola, and Julie has a neighborhood, and you like all of us are a complex individual. Your faith, I know it means so much to you.
Yeah, totally. And I think that each new season that I have come to in my life, whether it's, graduating high school or starting a family or now entering the workforce or COVID pandemic or whatever, I think the Lord just reminds me that it's just bring it back to basics. Like, just walk with me and I'm going to be with you and we'll be doing this together. And the more times that I can remember not to just try and muscle through it on my own, and he has to remind me so often about that piece, things just go better. So from a practical standpoint, like just making the time every day to get into the word and not just reading it, but then having moments to be able to soak it in and apply it to life, and being able to prayerfully consider that throughout the day, and having him be doing that good work in my heart to focus my eyes on him, like that. Things go way better when I do that, for sure.
Let me dig in a little bit. I told you I was going to do this. You've been awesome. We use terms like walking with him, versus, and you use the term instead of kind of muscling through. Maybe just talk a little bit about what muscling it through means versus walking with him. Can you give I know it's sometimes hard to make it cool, but it is too. So let's.
Totally. I think it's kind of like, especially having grown up in the church, like I know what a Christian does and thinks and how they act, because I've seen it a lot growing up. And I know, what God has called me to as well. I know Bible stories really well and scripture and that kind of thing. And I think sometimes then we can kind of say like, okay, I got this. Now I'm going to coast and kind of do my due diligence as a child of God and just try and live my best for Jesus. And he's here to help other people that need it more than me. And I can just do my part to not be an imposition on his time. And it's the vine and the branches sort of comes up so much in my heart. Like, apart from me, you can do nothing. Like, he didn't rescue me in my life so that I could then be a little do-gooder on my own. Like, it's part of the process of him working out my salvation in my heart, and then through my life, it has to be all him. Because I like how the Bible says, like, our righteousness is like filthy rags. Like, we, even on our best efforts, we don't really have anything that can compare to what God's already done for us. And so when we can be reminded of that we don't have to be meeting this, measuring up to this thing, because he's already done it. Then I think that's the non-muscling through it kind of piece. And then we can be leaning on him because he was the source for the strength to get through whatever we're getting through.
So you referenced the vine and staying attached to it. I believe that's John 15 for any of you out there who wonder where Julie was going with it. That's a great little reminder. Apart from him, we can do nothing. When a vine stays attached to the core, to the root, it can be nourished and we can grow. That's cool.
Yeah, totally.
I've got to ask you about a word you used. You used really great words. And you were talking about how, as someone who grew up in the church, you've seen it lived. You know the stories, you know the songs, you probably know the right answers. But you used a word that is intriguing to me. You said you didn't want to be an imposition to God. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting that we sometimes feel that, hey? Yeah, no, God's got more important things to do. Oh, man. We are all children of God, and we matter to him, and yet we can feel that way. Huh.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You know, I know you know this. Just going to tell you this, and anyone who's listening, we are not an imposition to God. Holy cow! We can all get there.
I know, totally.
And and then we just move away. Oh boy.
I know.
Yeah. So your faith is a daily thing.
Yeah.
It's the thing that brings you if you like that buoyancy. We haven't talked at all about your career. You have a career that is one where you're giving a lot. You are a care provider. You're an advocate for others, and I've often felt for people like yourself. And how do you carry the weight of that? And I can only imagine that God can be such a great source for you in that. But let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, and looking over these questions too, it's been a good process for me to kind of think about that. And I think going back to that scripture passage, like, I'm the vine and you are the branches, and Jesus speaking, remain in me and I in you, and you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And I think that's the piece of it, is if I'm relying on my own strength to be navigating some of the stories that I see, or trying to help people through whatever hurdles they're facing, then I just burn out. Like, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. But if I can remain in the Lord, and what that practically looks like is, a lot of times, especially during the day, whether I'm at work or wherever I'm at, there will be moments where I feel that the Lord just is really saying, like, okay, that was really heavy. Like, just how about you lay that on my shoulders now? And it's a real privilege to be able to just stop and pray for that person. Because then it's not me that's bearing their burden alone. so it takes that sort of savior complex off of me to have to fix this thing that they're going through. But B, it brings them to the person who can actually help them. And so it's helpful both for me as well as for them. So yeah, so I think that's one piece. And sometimes when I'm hearing stories, sometimes there can be some like really substantial things that come up. And I've found a lot of help through some of the like practical steps as far as like hearing trauma and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of sort of grounding exercises that you can do when you're in the room with somebody or just at home hearing about kind of tough stuff. And there's the cognitive behavioral therapy kind of goes through some grounding exercises, same as mindfulness. And those are a couple of kind of courses that have some practical sort of bits to that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Can you give us just a short little lesson on what that would be for those who are aware?
Yeah, so cognitive behavioral therapy is sort of, it's been used a lot for people who have struggled with mental illness. But I think it's just a really valuable sort of life skills kind of course. And it kind of works on sort of cognitive retraining to help the brain to heal, to make healthy connections again. And there's a few different sort of paradigms that it kind of operates on. And I'm by no means an expert, but just kind of the groundwork is that our thoughts and our behaviors and our feelings are all sort of intimately tied. And if we can identify a behavior that's happening that's feeding into this sort of thinking trap or whatever that we're getting ourselves into, and if we can be mindful of that and choose a different behavior, then that can help that whole sort of circuit to right itself. And same thing goes, we can identify the emotion and then sort of exploring that emotion, and maybe our emotion changes and then therefore our actions change and that kind of thing. So and our thoughts as well. So so that's the CBT kind of piece. And then the mindfulness piece is kind of, and I'm not an expert on this at all either, but sort of the practice of sort of paying attention on purpose to a certain thing at a certain time. And so the purpose of kind of slowing down and noticing what that thought is or what that feeling is, or, okay, I'm feeling my heart racing now, or, oh, I'm feeling, I'm getting sweaty, or I'm getting angry, or, all of those kinds of things. So, so those can be really helpful too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. We've learned so much. Peoples have learned so much over time and history that we really are an integrated being.
Mm-hmm.
What we think really does affect what we do. How we feel really affects how we act. Like there really is a coming together of all of those things, and so important to recognize that.
Yeah, totally.
It's hard sometimes to do. I've heard people talk about when those sense of that sense of panic is starting to come on. Sometimes it's good, just like you said, that mindfulness, just to sort of stop and just take a little look around and what is actually here. What's the physical things that are here? And sort of grounding yourself to an actual, no, I am here. It is sort of, these things are real, and just kind of, grabbing hold.
Yeah.
I think when we're able to begin to integrate some of these amazing things with the hope of God as well is such a powerful thing. You mentioned that, as a caregiver and provider, that you want to help, but you also know there's more, even a greater physician, if you like, out there as well to help. Where do you kind of go with that?
Yeah, it's so huge. I think Yeah. And sometimes what that looks like is just being able to, like, Lord, where do we go at this stage? You know, direct us in this person's care, or, yeah, or just praying for somebody, you know, in my heart after they've, you know, left. Or yeah, I think just being mindful of that God is the source of healing, regardless of, you know, what path or journey a person is on, is a really big thing to remember, kind of in a day in day out basis. Yeah, and I wish that it's such an amazing gift to have that hope, that we can. And I think in this season, with so many things that we could have put our hope in, sort of family and social gatherings and all of that kind of stuff, that we can't do. It's been a real season of remembering kind of what can hold our hope when we can hope in it, and hoping in Jesus, and hoping in the hope of heaven, and the promises of God, has been so huge. And I wish that more people got to experience that on a day in, day out basis, you know, because it is such a gift, to be able to have him hold that hope and know that that's not going to disappoint, kind of thing. But yeah.
One of the things that I feel like I've picked up from our conversations, not just tonight, but just in general, is that, you know, you recognize that, you have all these different hats on that you wear. You know, as I said, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a career person, you know, care provider, all of these things. But it seems like you're the kind of person who understands, and yet I need to make sure I have self-care. I need to ensure that I am well centered.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did Juliane, like, is that something you've always sort of had? Like, where is that?
It's funny that you would say that, because I would not cite that as one of my strengths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I'm a work in progress with that piece.
Okay.
My head knows what I need to do, and then it's a matter of kind of putting in that into action. Actually, I think Lee has modeled that really well for me, and okay, I need to do that and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the self-care piece is so huge, to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting the person beside you, kind of thing. And yeah, and I think that it can come in really practical ways, with just the basics of like, you know, trying to get outside, trying to move your body, trying to eat well, trying to get enough sleep, all that kind of stuff, as best as you can, and to the best of your abilities. And finding things that fill you up, and trying to implement those into your schedule, kind of week in, week out as well. So
yeah. So in a busy household, a busy home, in a busy career, in a busy season, how do you practically carve that time out? Like, is it a conversation, with Lee, and you just go, okay, now Lee, I need this time. Can you carry the load on this here, and I will take over, you know, or like, what does that practically look like?
yeah, definitely it can be a bit of a relay race, where like, okay, the baton has been passed. I'm going to be sitting on this bench here, and you run and I'll take the next leg, kind of thing. Before the kids were in school, that was more of a challenge. Now that all three of the kids are in school, we're finding that there's more moments where we can actually both be off at the same time and do things like go for coffee or go for a walk together. It's like free babysitting.
There's hope out there, parents.
Yeah, exactly. As long as the pandemic doesn't shut the schools down again. Yeah, but before the kids were all in school, we would, once every quarter, do 1 week, and then the next person the next week, of just an entire day of solitude that we would just plan on, and we put it on the calendar, and like from midnight of the day of until 11:59 that day, that was all yours. So whatever you needed to do, just go for it. So that was really good. And that got us through a lot of years of not having family in town and needing to find that alone time and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Cooperative. That's amazing. And I bumped heads with that scheduling every once in a while with Lee, trying to get together with him. No, I can't. This is my day that I've got to be with the kids. Julie's gone. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he was explaining to me a little bit. That's really great.
It's definitely teamwork. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've shared a lot of really cool things. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that's just sort of been hanging out there that you would like to share? Anything that we maybe didn't touch on?
Yeah, not a lot that I can think of. I don't know. I think it's just been a challenging season for so many people, and it's not even news to say that. Like, yeah,
It may not be. Sorry to cut in. It may not be news, but I think it's good for us to hear it.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge it. Hey.
Okay to acknowledge it. Totally. Yeah, like that meme that came out a little while ago. I miss precedented times. I'm all done with unprecedented times.
Yeah.
But I think whoever said that quote of Christianity is sort of one beggar showing another beggar where to find bread. I love that quote. And I think that is, I've been so grateful in this season to have hope and to know that the Lord has gone before us in this, and that he has a plan, and that it's all going to be redeemed at the end. And that there's nowhere that I'm going that he hasn't already been, and that he's not here with me in. And I just hope and pray that God can keep wooing hearts so that more people would be able to experience that.
Yeah. That's well said.
Yeah.
Julie, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for carving out some time to be an encouragement to, I've just enjoyed this, and I know others have as well and will. So thank you so much. God bless you and your family. Yeah. And all of your work in your career and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thanks, Lindsay.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
Everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Just want to remind you, like I said, first and third Thursdays, we keep doing this, just having conversations. We hope that there's maybe one or two little things that might just kind of tweak in your brain and might help you as you kind of navigate this world of ups and downs, the bumps and bruises of life. There's previous episodes on YouTube, my YouTube channel. You can go check it out there, or on the Saanich Facebook or YouTube channel as well. Thanks for joining in with us. God bless. Take care.